You know, there have never been rallies like that. Sleepy Joe Biden the other day had 68 people. And now they have a new member of the crew, Mini Mike. Mini Mike. No boxes. We call him no boxes. And I hear he's getting pounded tonight. You know, he's in a debate. I hear they're pounding him. Mini Mike. I know him well. He didn't know what hit him. He's going, oh, get me off of this stage. Get me off. Get me off of this stage.
What, if anything, though, can this committee come up with that would change these minds we're seeing right now?
And that's the problem. We're very focused on January 6th. Again, I am all for every prosecution that's going on. There's 700 indictments out there. That is good. But when I look forward to 2024, I'm deeply concerned by these numbers because what it says to me is that people on both sides are not ready to accept the results of the next election.
Both sides?
I absolutely think that is the case. You look back at 2017. Look at the ABC poll on whether Trump was legitimately elected. It was about 6 to 8 points off of this one right now, not that far off. Hillary Clinton asked in 2017, was Trump legitimately elected? Point blank. She did not say yes.
3 years after the historic election of 2016, she's still grappling with defeat.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did. And
you think Democrats, if Donald Trump runs again, if Donald Trump wins in 2024, you think Democrats are going to think he was legitimately elected? You got to be kidding me.
There's no precedent for that.
You think Democrats are going to think he was legitimately elected? You got to be kidding me.
There's no precedent for that.
Thousands of protesters spilled into the streets in cities big and small in more than 10 different cities. This as our new president has been elected. Many are promising new demonstrations are just beginning.
There's no precedent for that.
Overnight, the outrage over an election, sparking protests from coast to coast and cities in between. In Oakland, what started as a peaceful protest quickly turning violent. Demonstrators burning flags and vandalizing cars.
There's no precedent for that.
In San Diego, police struggling to keep control of scores of demonstrators.
There's no precedent for that.
In New York, thousands of protesters chanting and banging drums as they marched past Rockefeller Center up 6th Avenue, blocking off streets above Trump Tower.
There's no precedent for that.
In Chicago, they burned Donald Trump paraphernalia. In Houston, angry demonstrators taking turns beating a papier-mâché likeness of Trump with a bat, then torching it. And back in Los Angeles overnight, hundreds of people shut down a major highway through downtown LA, many struggling to come to grips with the reality of a new president-elect.
There's no precedent for that.
From New York City to Oakland, there were arrests made overnight. In addition to those reports of vandalism, police say Molotov cocktails were also thrown at them. But
This purely in the Republican camp. The reality is even the polls suggested the Democrats agree that this was not about democracy. This is about ruining democracy, not protecting it.
25% of Democrats said violence was acceptable in that poll. In 2017, a third of Hillary Clinton voters said Donald Trump was not legitimately elected.
They didn't take the same kind of actions that we
exactly.
saw last year.
In Oakland, police also deployed tear gas and flashbang grenades against crowds of thousands of protesters.
In Seattle, Washington, thousands took to the streets for a protest called by the Socialist City Council member Kshama Sawant, while in Chicago, thousands rallied outside Trump Tower, where at least 5 people were arrested. Protests were also held in Portland, Oregon, Miami, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, Richmond, Virginia, and Austin, Texas, Boston, and Philadelphia.
There's no precedent for that.
Here in New York, as many as 10,000 people surged through the streets and surrounded the barricaded-off Trump Tower, where Donald Trump lives. At least 65 people were arrested.
Same kind of actions that we
exactly.
saw
And we
Absolutely.
there is no precedent.
That is the escalation. And if you don't think that's going to happen in 2024 and that we need to be focused on that, if
we
both
need to be
sides-
focused on today, because this was a year ago, and there still has been very little action for the folks who were the masterminds, facilitators of this. And if we don't,
700 indictments.
you can't move forward without accountability. And this commission and the Department of Justice and anybody else with authority needs to send a clear message to anybody who's looking at this and thinks
There are
it's
trials
okay
going on.
to say that it is not okay.
Go home to mommy. Mommy says, I saw you on television tonight. I love Trump. Don't you ever do that again. Yes, Mom. I am your voice.